ladies and gentlemen. I want to begin by acknowledging something profound and often overlooked. Kindness is not a shield that protects us from pain. In fact, sometimes it feels as though the more we give, the more exposed we become. When you've poured your heart into others, when you've been a source of light, only to find that your kindness has not been returned, or worse, taken advantage of, it can leave you feeling broken, betrayed, and uncertain of your worth. But I'm here today to remind you of something powerful. Your kindness is never wasted, and you have the power to heal, grow, and move forward. In the face of hurt, there are ways to reclaim your peace, your strength, and your self-worth. Here are 7 ways to move on after being broken despite your kindness. Embracing vulnerability as strength is one of the most transformative lessons we can learn in life, especially when we faced emotional pain or disappointment. It's easy to think of vulnerability as a weakness, something we should hide or protect in order to avoid being hurt. Society often teaches us to build walls around our emotions, to show only the parts of ourselves that are polished and perfected, and to guard our hearts from anything or anyone that might cause us pain. But in doing so, we miss the opportunity for growth, connection, and real healing. Vulnerability is not something to be feared or avoided. It is the very thing that allows us to connect more deeply with others and with ourselves. When we open ourselves up to the world, we allow ourselves to be seen, not just in our strengths, but also in our imperfections, our fears, and our brokenness. And while this may feel terrifying at times, it is precisely in these moments of exposure that we discover our true power. Vulnerability is not about being weak, it is about having the courage to show up fully, without masks or defenses. It is about trusting that, even in our rawest moments, we are worthy of love, connection, and acceptance. Being vulnerable takes immense bravery because it requires us to step outside the armor we've carefully constructed to protect ourselves. It means we are willing to be seen, to be heard, and to face the world without knowing exactly how it will respond. It's an act of trust, not just in others, but also in ourselves. When we embrace vulnerability, we affirm our inherent worth and refuse to let past hurts define us. We acknowledge that while pain is a part of life, it does not have to be the end of our story. Instead, it can be the beginning of a new chapter 1 where we can heal, grow, and show up more fully as our authentic selves. One of the greatest sources of strength in vulnerability is the sense of freedom it brings. When we stop hiding behind a facade, living in fear of judgment or rejection, we stop measuring our worth based on external approval and begin to embrace the truth of who we are. It's in this space of openness that we find the courage to set boundaries, to say no when necessary, and to prioritize our own well-being. We begin to understand that we are not defined by others' opinions or actions. Instead, we are defined by the choices we make and how we respond to the world. Vulnerability also allows us to build deeper, more authentic relationships. When we show up with our full selves, imperfections and all, we invite others to do the same. This creates a ripple effect of trust and connection that is impossible to replicate through guardedness or perfection. We move beyond surface-level interactions and into real, meaningful exchanges that nurture both our emotional well-being and our sense of belonging. When we share our struggles, our fears, and our desires with others, we often find that they too are struggling in similar ways. Vulnerability fosters empathy, understanding, and compassion, qualities that are essential for building lasting connections. Vulnerability is the foundation of resilience. It is in our moments of brokenness that we discover our greatest strength, the strength to rise again, to try again, and to keep moving forward even when life feels overwhelming. Vulnerability reminds us that we do not have to be perfect to be worthy. It teaches us that it's okay to fall, to fail, and to stumble along the way, as long as we continue to show up for ourselves and for others. In embracing vulnerability, we discover not only the strength to endure, but also the courage to love more deeply, to live more authentically, and to heal more fully. Acknowledging your emotions without shame is an essential part of healing, self-growth, and living authentically. We often live in a world that encourages us to suppress our feelings, to keep it together, or to push past emotions quickly to maintain an image of strength and composure. We are taught that emotions like sadness, anger, and fear are signs of weakness, and that they should be avoided or hidden at all costs. But in reality, our emotions are not something to be ashamed of. They are an integral part of our human experience, and honoring them is key to understanding who we are, what we need, and how we can move forward in life with greater clarity and purpose. When we refuse to acknowledge our emotions, we deny ourselves the opportunity to fully process what we're feeling. Bottling up emotions might seem like a solution in the short term, but over time it leads to greater emotional distress and can even manifest physically in the form of anxiety, stress, or illness. Ignoring or suppressing our feelings creates a disconnect between our inner world and our outward actions, which can result in a sense of dissonance and inner turmoil. We may feel disconnected from our true selves, lost or unsure of what we need, and struggle to relate to others in a genuine way. But when we allow ourselves to acknowledge what we're truly feeling, we give ourselves the space to understand the depth and complexity of our emotions. This is where true healing begins. Acknowledging your emotions without shame means giving yourself permission to feel, no matter what those feelings are. It's important to recognize that emotions are not inherently good or bad, they simply are. Whether you're feeling sadness after a loss, frustration with a situation, or joy from a personal achievement, these emotions are all valid and worthy of attention. Emotions are signals from our inner selves, guiding us to understand our needs, boundaries, desires, and experiences. By acknowledging them, we honor ourselves and our emotional truth. Shame often arises when we judge ourselves for feeling something that society deems inappropriate or uncomfortable. We might feel embarrassed for crying in public, angry at someone who has hurt us, or guilty for taking time to care for ourselves. But the truth is, emotions don't follow a set of rules. They are a natural response to life's experiences. Instead of shying away from them, we need to make space for them. We can give ourselves permission to feel grief without thinking we're weak, to experience frustration without thinking we're failing, and to embrace joy without feeling guilty for enjoying the moment. When we let go of the shame associated with emotions, we free ourselves from the internal pressure to be perfect or to meet external expectations. It's also important to understand that emotions are temporary. They are not permanent states of being, nor do they define us. Feelings like sadness or anger do not make us bad people. These emotions are often temporary reactions to circumstances, and acknowledging them allows us to process and move through them. By allowing ourselves to feel and express what we're experiencing, we gain insight into what's happening inside us. This self-awareness gives us the opportunity to choose how we want to respond, rather than reacting out of fear or judgment. When we acknowledge our emotions without shame, we also create a healthier relationship with ourselves. We stop criticizing ourselves for being too emotional or for feeling things that others might not understand. Instead, we begin to develop compassion for ourselves in the same way we would for a close friend. When we face our emotions with understanding, we allow ourselves to heal and grow. We can begin to understand the root causes of our feelings, uncover deeper truths about our experiences, and find the strength to move forward with greater resilience. Embracing our emotions with acceptance and without shame is an act of self-love and self-respect. It's about recognizing that we are worthy of our own care, attention, and understanding. Our emotions are not burdens, they are the pathways to greater self-awareness and emotional freedom. By embracing them, we honor our humanity and open ourselves to the possibility of healing, growth, and deep connection with ourselves and others. Recognizing that you are not defined by others' actions is a fundamental shift in perspective that allows you to reclaim your personal power and live with a sense of inner peace. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our worth is tied to how others treat us, how they perceive us, or how they respond to our kindness. When someone hurts us, betrays our trust, or fails to meet our expectations, it can feel as though our value has been diminished in their eyes. But the truth is, your worth is not contingent on anyone else's behavior or actions. You are inherently valuable regardless of how others choose to treat you. One of the most difficult things to accept is that we cannot control how others behave. We cannot dictate their actions, their words, or their responses to us. While we can choose how we treat others, we cannot make them treat us in a particular way. And yet, when people act in hurtful or unkind ways, it's easy to internalize their actions and start questioning ourselves. We might think that their behavior reflects something wrong with us, that we somehow deserve their treatment, or that we are unworthy of better. But when we take others' actions to heart, we give them power over our sense of self. We allow external circumstances to dictate how we feel about ourselves, and we relinquish control of our own emotional well-being. The truth is, other people's actions are a reflection of them, not of you. How someone treats you speaks volumes about their own experiences, struggles, and worldview. It's not about you, it's about them. When someone is unkind, it's often because they are dealing with their own pain, insecurities, or unresolved issues. When someone takes advantage of your kindness or betrays your trust, it is not a reflection of your worth or your character. It is simply a result of their choices, and those choices are not yours to own. By recognizing this, you free yourself from the need for external validation. When you stop defining yourself by how others treat you, you begin to build a stronger, more resilient sense of self. You can stop measuring your value based on how others respond to you, and instead, you can start measuring your worth by your own standards, by the way you show up in the world, by the integrity with which you live, and by the love and compassion you offer to others. Your worth is intrinsic, not situational. It's also important to realize that being kind, compassionate, or loving does not guarantee that others will treat you the same way. But that does not mean your kindness is wasted or that you should change who you are to avoid being hurt. The truth is, your goodness is a reflection of your own values, not of how others behave. When you act from a place of kindness, it is a choice you make for your own peace and for the good of the world, not a transaction that you expect to be reciprocated. This understanding gives you the freedom to continue being true to yourself, regardless of how others respond. Letting go of the belief that you are defined by others' actions also means taking responsibility for your own emotional reactions. While you cannot control how others behave, you do have control over how you respond to their actions. If someone mistreats you, you can choose how to react, not with anger or bitterness, but with the understanding that their behavior does not diminish your worth. You can choose to set boundaries, to walk away, or to let go of relationships that are no longer serving you, but you do not need to internalize their actions as a reflection of who you are. Recognizing that you are not defined by others' actions allows you to step into your own power. It gives you the freedom to live authentically and to act in alignment with your values, regardless of how others treat you. You become less reliant on external approval and more grounded in your own self-worth. This shift in perspective enables you to move through life with greater peace and confidence, knowing that your value comes from within, not from the actions of others. Letting go of perfectionism and self-blame is a transformative practice that can free you from a cycle of self-criticism and disappointment. We often place immense pressure on ourselves to meet impossible standards, believing that we must be flawless in every aspect of our lives, whether it's in our relationships, our work, or even in our personal growth. Perfectionism leads us to believe that if we make mistakes or fall short, we are somehow less worthy or incapable. It traps us in a mindset of constant striving, where nothing we do ever feels good enough. But the truth is, perfectionism is not a reflection of excellence. It is a reflection of fear. It's the fear of failing, of being judged, or of not being enough. And it keeps us from embracing our true selves and experiencing the fullness of life. Perfectionism holds us to unrealistic standards, making us feel as though we must do everything perfectly in order to be deserving of love, success, or happiness. We might strive for the perfect career, the ideal body, or the flawless relationship, but no matter how much we achieve, we always feel like we are falling short. The constant pursuit of perfection drains us of our energy and joy, leaving us feeling inadequate and exhausted. In reality, perfection does not exist. There will always be flaws, mistakes, and imperfections in life, and that is what makes it beautifully human. Embracing this truth allows us to step off the hamster wheel of perfectionism and into a space of self-acceptance and peace. When we let go of perfectionism, we allow ourselves to be fully human, with all of our flaws, quirks, and imperfections. We release the need to meet external expectations and instead focus on what truly matters to us. We begin to appreciate the journey rather than obsess over the destination, knowing that the process is just as important as the outcome. When we make mistakes, we can learn from them rather than berating ourselves for not being perfect. We can view our shortcomings as opportunities for growth rather than as evidence of our inadequacy. This shift in mindset allows us to approach life with greater compassion, both for ourselves and for others. Self-blame is another destructive force that often accompanies perfectionism. We tend to hold ourselves responsible for things that are beyond our control, or for situations where we did the best we could under the circumstances. We blame ourselves for not doing more, for not preventing the outcome, or for not being enough. But self-blame only keeps us stuck in a cycle of guilt and regret, preventing us from moving forward and healing. It ties our self-worth to our perceived failures rather than to our intrinsic value as human beings. The truth is, we are all doing the best we can, and sometimes the outcome is simply beyond our control. To let go of self-blame, we must first accept that mistakes are a natural part of life. We are not meant to be perfect, and we are certainly not meant to have all the answers. When we accept that we are allowed to make mistakes, we begin to release the hold that self-blame has on us. We learn to forgive ourselves for the things we wish we had done differently and to see those moments as stepping stones toward our growth. Letting go of self-blame means giving ourselves the freedom to be imperfect, to fall short, and to still be worthy of love and respect. The path to letting go of perfectionism and self-blame is not always easy, but it is liberating. It allows us to live with more authenticity, more self-compassion, and more peace. When we stop trying to be perfect and stop blaming ourselves for things beyond our control, we open ourselves to a life that is richer, more fulfilling, and more aligned with our true selves. We embrace the messy, imperfect beauty of being human and give ourselves permission to grow, learn, and live fully. In letting go of perfectionism and self-blame, we make room for grace, for healing, and for the freedom to be who we are, exactly as we are. Trusting in the power of self-compassion is a profound act of self-love that can transform the way we approach life, especially in moments of hardship or failure. For many of us, being kind and understanding toward ourselves is not an easy practice. We are often our harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossibly high standards and expecting perfection in everything we do. When we fall short or make mistakes, we tend to beat ourselves up, believing that being hard on ourselves is the only way to improve. But in reality, self-compassion is not only a more effective way to foster growth, but it is also essential for healing and emotional well-being. When we learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness, patience, and understanding that we offer to others, we create space for deeper self-acceptance and the ability to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience. Self-compassion begins with the recognition that we as human beings are imperfect by nature. We are not meant to be flawless, and mistakes are an inevitable part of life. Instead of viewing mistakes as failures, self-compassion invites us to see them as opportunities for growth and learning. When we show ourselves compassion, we are able to accept our flaws and shortcomings without judgment, allowing us to move forward with a sense of peace rather than guilt or shame. It is the understanding that to be human is to be fallible, and that those moments of imperfection do not diminish our worth, they enrich our journey. Trusting in self-compassion also means recognizing that we are deserving of kindness regardless of our achievements or failures. Too often we place conditions on how we treat ourselves, believing that we only deserve love and care when we meet certain expectations or when we are at our best. But self-compassion teaches us that our worth is not contingent on our performance or success. We are worthy of kindness simply because we exist. It is a reminder that we do not have to earn our own love. It is inherently ours. By embracing this truth, we begin to let go of the need for external validation and start offering ourselves the unconditional love that we so freely give to others. Another crucial aspect of trusting in the power of self-compassion is acknowledging that it is not a form of self-pity or complacency. In fact, self-compassion empowers us to take ownership of our lives and make positive changes. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we remove the self-criticism that often keeps us stuck in negative patterns. Instead of wallowing in self-blame or frustration, self-compassion gives us the clarity and emotional balance to make better decisions, learn from our mistakes, and move forward with a greater sense of purpose. It provides us with the emotional space to reflect, regroup, and choose a path that aligns with our values and desires. Trusting in self-compassion also involves cultivating patience with ourselves. In a fast-paced world where we are constantly striving for success, it can be easy to forget that healing, growth, and progress take time. Self-compassion reminds us that we are not machines. We are human beings who need time to rest, reflect, and recover. We do not need to be on all the time or to have all the answers right away. By trusting in the power of self-compassion, we allow ourselves the grace to move through life at our own pace, knowing that we are worthy of rest and healing as we work toward our goals. Trusting in the power of self-compassion is about creating a relationship with ourselves that is rooted in love, understanding, and acceptance. It is about offering ourselves the same kindness and support that we would give to a close friend, especially during times of struggle or pain. By doing so, we build a solid foundation of emotional resilience, self-worth, and inner peace. Self-compassion does not mean avoiding challenges or avoiding responsibility. It means meeting those challenges with a heart full of care and patience for ourselves. It is about understanding that we are worthy of love, not because we are perfect, but because we are human. And in that humanity, we have the power to heal, grow, and become the best version of ourselves. Creating healthy boundaries is an essential aspect of maintaining our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Boundaries are not about building walls or shutting people out, but about defining where we end and others begin. They are a reflection of self-respect and self-care, providing the structure and space we need to preserve our energy, protect our values, and maintain our sense of identity. When we set healthy boundaries, we are communicating our needs, desires, and limits in a way that honors both ourselves and others. It is an act of self-love that ensures we are not sacrificing our well-being for the sake of others, and it helps us navigate relationships and responsibilities with clarity and respect. One of the first steps in creating healthy boundaries is understanding that it's okay to say no. Many people, especially those who are kind and giving, struggle with this concept. We might feel guilty or selfish when we turn down requests or obligations, especially if others might be disappointed or upset. Saying no is not a rejection of the person asking. It is an affirmation of our own needs and well-being. It is acknowledging that our time, energy, and emotional resources are finite and that we must protect them in order to be our best selves. Saying no allows us to preserve our health, focus on our priorities, and show up more fully in the areas that truly matter to us. When we say no, we are not being unkind or selfish. We are simply ensuring that we are not overextending ourselves to the point of burnout. Setting boundaries also means being clear about what is acceptable behavior from others and communicating those limits with confidence. It's easy to feel uncomfortable asserting ourselves, especially when we fear conflict or disapproval. However, healthy boundaries require us to be direct and honest about our needs without apology. Whether it's in a personal relationship, a work environment, or with friends and family, it's important to communicate what we are willing to tolerate and what we are not. This might involve setting limits on how much time we spend with certain people, or deciding not to engage in conversations or behaviors that feel disrespectful or draining. By doing so, we protect our peace and prevent others from taking advantage of our time or energy. Equally important is the need to respect the boundaries of others. Boundaries are not one-sided. They are a mutual exchange of respect and understanding. Just as we communicate our own limits, we must also honor the boundaries that others set for themselves. This fosters an environment of mutual respect, trust, and healthy relationship dynamics. When we respect others' boundaries, we are affirming their worth and needs just as we expect them to do for us. Creating healthy boundaries also involves recognizing the importance of self-care. We cannot pour from an empty cup, and without clear boundaries, we risk depleting ourselves emotionally, mentally, and physically. Taking time for ourselves is not indulgent. It is necessary for our well-being. This may mean taking regular breaks from work, saying no to social events that drain us, or setting aside time for hobbies or relaxation. By prioritizing our own needs and well-being, we ensure that we have the energy and strength to be present for others in a way that is healthy and sustainable. It's important to recognize that setting and maintaining boundaries is an ongoing process. As we grow and change, our needs and limits may evolve as well. There may be times when we need to adjust our boundaries to reflect new priorities or challenges, and that is okay. Setting boundaries is not a one-time act. It is a continual practice of self-awareness, communication, and self-respect. By regularly checking in with ourselves and reassessing our boundaries, we ensure that we are consistently honoring our own needs and well-being. Creating healthy boundaries is not about being rigid or distant. It is about cultivating a life that is balanced, fulfilling, and authentic. When we set boundaries, we create space for deeper connection, greater respect, and more meaningful relationships. We teach others how to treat us, and in doing so, we show up as our best selves, ready to give, to receive, and to live in alignment with our values and needs. Reclaiming your story and your power is one of the most empowering and transformative steps you can take in life. Often, we allow the events, circumstances, and narratives that others impose on us to shape our identity. We let the labels placed upon us by society, family, or even our own self-doubt define who we are and limit what we believe we can achieve. Over time, these external stories can become so ingrained in us that we begin to accept them as our truth, even if they are not aligned with who we truly are or who we want to become. Reclaiming your story means taking back control of your narrative, shedding the layers of imposed beliefs, and stepping into the fullness of who you are meant to be. The first step in reclaiming your story is recognizing that you have the power to write your own narrative. Your past does not have to define your future. Yes, your past may have shaped you, but it does not have to dictate who you are or where you are headed. You are not your mistakes, your failures, or the things that were done to you. You are not the sum of the negative experiences that have colored your life. Reclaiming your story means refusing to let past hurt or trauma control how you see yourself. Instead, you choose to define yourself by your resilience, your growth, and your ability to rise above challenges. You acknowledge your past, but no longer let it control your present or your future. This process also involves recognizing that you are the author of your own life. The choices you make today shape the person you become tomorrow. Reclaiming your story means taking full responsibility for your life, not as a way of blaming yourself for what has happened, but as an acknowledgement that you have the agency to decide how you move forward. It means releasing the need for approval or validation from others and trusting your own instincts and intuition. You are the one who knows yourself best, and you are the one who has the power to create the life you want. Part of reclaiming your story is letting go of the limiting beliefs that hold you back. So often we carry beliefs about ourselves that were formed in childhood, influenced by others' judgments or expectations. These beliefs may include ideas like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love, or I don't have what it takes. These beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies, limiting our ability to see ourselves as capable and deserving. Reclaiming your power means challenging these beliefs and replacing them with a more empowering and truthful narrative. It means recognizing that you have inherent value, that you are worthy of love, success, and happiness, and that you are capable of achieving your dreams. Reclaiming your story also means embracing your voice and your truth. So often we remain silent or hold back out of fear of judgment or rejection. We worry about how others will perceive us or if we'll be accepted if we speak our truth. But your voice is powerful and your perspective matters. When you reclaim your story, you give yourself permission to speak up, to share your experiences, and to stand firm in your beliefs. You no longer silence yourself for the sake of others' comfort or expectations. Instead, you speak your truth with confidence and authenticity, knowing that your story is yours to tell. Reclaiming your power also involves letting go of the need to be perfect. So many of us strive for perfection, believing that we must be flawless in every aspect of our lives in order to be deserving of love, respect, or success. But perfection is an illusion. It is our imperfections that make us unique, relatable, and human. Reclaiming your power means embracing your imperfections, accepting that you are worthy even when you don't have it all together. It means finding strength in vulnerability, understanding that your imperfections do not diminish your worth, they enhance your story. Reclaiming your story and your power is an ongoing process. It is not a one-time event, but a continuous journey of growth, self-discovery, and empowerment. Every day is an opportunity to rewrite your narrative, to step more fully into your truth, and to claim your space in the world. It is a reminder that you have the power to shape your life, to heal from past wounds, and to create a future that aligns with your deepest desires and values. When you reclaim your story and your power, you take ownership of your life, your identity, and your destiny. You become the person you were always meant to be: strong, resilient, and unapologetically.